Rock star, role model, songwriter, survivor. Stevie Nicks is a lot of things to a lot of people, but everyone knows that she's straight up iconic. Over the years, Stevie Nicks has been a guiding light to dozens of women in the entertainment industry. For example, she's close with 1,000 Miles singer Vanessa Carlton. Nicks officiated her wedding and made sure to reassure her on the phone both before and after her ectopic pregnancy surgery. She has also provided advice and encouragement to the Sisters of Hayam. When she met up with them for a profile in T Magazine, she gave them helpful tips and even gifted them beautiful golden pendants that resembled the ones her mother had once worn. In an interview with HuffPost, Nicks said, "I'm looking for the great people, the legends. These, I think, are legendary women. I want to do what I can to help them stay on track." In a 2013 Vulture profile, Nicks elaborated on the special role she plays in these famous figures' lives, telling the outlet, "They know they can call me. I'm never far away. I like to say a fairy godmother as opposed to a mom, because I don't become their mom. They have moms. They don't need another mom, but maybe they need a fairy godmother." Stevie Nicks struggled with cocaine addiction throughout the 70s and 80s.
And it was the first thing I thought of when I woke up in the morning and the last thing I thought of before I went to bed.
Instead of keeping quiet about her history with the drug, Nicks has chosen to speak out about her experiences in order to help current addicts. In a 2006 interview with ABC News, she refused to sugarcoat her story. She said, "What I always want to be careful to tell people is that, just like everything else, for 2-3 years it was really fun, but it turns into a monster, so it's not worth it to do it for those 2 or 3 years of fun, because it will eventually kill you." She opened up about the moment when she realized she had to stop too, saying, "I went to a plastic surgeon who told me, you're really gonna have a lot of problems with your nose if you don't stop doing this. That could affect my voice. And then what would I do if I couldn't sing anymore? I could not get to Betty Ford fast enough." In the interview, Nicks also expressed regret for spending millions of dollars on drugs, especially since she could have had that money now to give to philanthropic causes. Nicks has refused to settle for a man who doesn't understand the importance of her career. Numerous times, she's described her high standards for a life partner and clarified that even if she doesn't find one, she'll be just fine. In 2014, she told the New York Times, "It would be fun if I could find a boyfriend who understood my life and didn't get his feelings hurt, because I'm always a phone call away from having to leave in 2 hours for New York." She went on to say that it wouldn't be easy to ask that of someone, but it didn't bother her much, since she could see a different future on the horizon. Nicks continued, "But when I'm 90 years old and sitting in a gloriously beautiful beach house somewhere on this planet, with 5 or 6 Chinese crested Yorkies, surrounded by goddaughters who will at that point be middle-aged, I'll be just as happy." In 2020, she shared a similar sentiment with The Guardian, claiming that her independence was probably a deal breaker for most men, and that's not something she's willing to give up. Although Stevie Nicks is best known as a musician, she has also forayed into other artistic ventures. In 2014, Nicks stepped into the world of television with an appearance on Season 3 of American Horror Story, Coven. Part of the season's plot involves a swamp dweller named Misty Day, who has an infatuation with the singer, seeing her as a white witch. In the episode, The Magical Delights of Stevie Nicks, the rock heroine herself finally steps onto the screen.
Did I get the show twirl right? I want to get it right.
Perfect. It was perfect.
Thank you.
That same year, Nicks curated an exhibition at the Morrison Hotel Gallery's locations in New York and Los Angeles. The artwork on display? A series of self-portraits taken with an old-school Polaroid camera over the decades. Nicks discovered the joys of self-portraiture in the mid-70s when she would style herself for impromptu photo shoots in the late hours of the night. Nicks never expected anyone else to see the pictures she took, but she and her producer, David Stewart, stumbled upon them while recording an album 30 years later. Stewart was astonished by the quality of the portraits and encouraged Nicks to share them with the world. Nicks has always been a crusader for women, both in the industry and at large. In 2013, she talked about the importance of women's rights at South by Southwest. She told the crowd, "We fought very hard for feminism. What I'm seeing today is a very opposite thing. I don't know why, but I see women being put back in their place, and I hate it. We're losing all we worked so hard for, and it really bums me out." When Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were facing off in the presidential race, Nicks shared her excitement about seeing a female candidate in the running. In a U.S. weekly article from the Time, she is quoted as saying, "I'm very proud that a woman has finally been chosen as a candidate for the President of the United States, because I always felt women should be treated like first-class citizens. We are just as good as men are, and maybe better and smarter." In a 2020 interview with NME, she expressed her support for the #MeToo movement, while clarifying that she didn't experience any abuse or mistreatment by producers as a young star, she did see that abuse directed at other women and chose to speak out. Nix said, "At 72 years old, I am totally behind Me Too. I support all those women, totally. It's really unfortunate that most women in show business do experience that." As one of the world's greatest living rock stars, Stevie Nicks has a busy schedule. Over the years, however, she has set aside plenty of time for giving back. Nicks is particularly well known for her work with wounded veterans. In 2015, she was honored at a banquet hosted by the United Service Organizations. There, she was celebrated for holding the USO record for the most hours spent visiting wounded service members over a 5-year period. That year, she revealed that she decided to get involved with the USO after meeting a soldier so traumatized he couldn't open his eyes.
And that was it. That was the beginning. And I knew that from that moment onward, I would come back whenever I could.
Nix has also shown her support for veterans at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center and Bethesda National Naval Medical Center, hoping to brighten their days by donating hundreds of iPods. Nix's time with veterans inspired her to pen Soldier's Angel, a track on her 2011 album, In Your Dreams. In the lyrics, she empathizes with the mothers, nurses, and girlfriends of combat soldiers and writes about her own efforts to bring cheer to veterans' lives. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Stevie Nicks has received all kinds of accolades over the course of her career. At the 20th Annual Grammy Awards in 1978, for example, she and the rest of Fleetwood Mac were given the Album of the Year award for their legendary album Rumors. Nicks has received 15 nominations in total, both for her releases with the band and for her solo work. Not only is Nicks a Grammy winner, but she is only one of 3 women to have been inducted into the Rock Hall of Fame twice, once with Fleetwood Mac and once as a solo artist. In a 2020 interview with CBS Sunday Morning, she shared her feelings about the accomplishment, saying, "It's 22 men that are in twice for their solo work and being in a big band, and no women, until me, so I feel that I definitely broke a big rock and roll glass ceiling." Christine McVie wrote songs and played the keys for Fleetwood Mac. As the 2 women in the band, Stevie Nicks and McVie had a special bond. In a 2020 interview with NME, Nicks discussed how they looked out for each other in the male-dominated rock world. She said, "Chris and I made a pact that we would never be in a room full of famous English or American guitar players and be treated like second-class citizens. If we weren't respected, we would say, 'This party's over.' We have stayed true to that our entire career." In 1998, McVie briefly left the band, citing struggles with anxiety. Nicks supported her decision. In a 2013 interview with Vulture, she explained that McVie had begun experiencing panic attacks and developed a fear of flying. And so, as much as she would miss having her best friend constantly by her side, Nicks was steadfast in showing McVie all the support she could. She said, "I love Chris, and she was my best friend for 30 years. So when your best friend looks at you in your eyes and says, 'I can't do this anymore,' you just have to let her go." And I did. Of course, as any Fleetwood Mac fan will tell you, McVie eventually came back.
She just called and said, "What would you think if I decided to come back to the band?" And I said, "Chris, it's your band.
Wow.
I don't think you really have to ask."
In March 2020, at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, Stevie Nicks had a feeling that her fans might need some extra encouragement. Thus, she wrote them a heartfelt letter urging them to stay strong while social distancing. She began the note by thanking fans for their efforts to stop the spread, before offering a glimpse into her own life during quarantine. She wrote, "I am getting all my paintings and drawings out, listening to music, and being inspired to write some new songs and poetry." Nicks also took action to help other artists during the pandemic, joining forces with the Music Artists Coalition. She and a number of other musicians urged President Donald Trump and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin to provide financial relief to struggling musicians as their careers took a hit. Stevie Nicks has influenced artists across all kinds of genres. Harry Styles, for example, is one of them. In 2019, he sang her praises while inducting her into the Rock Hall of Fame, saying, "In my family, we listened to Stevie at home. We listened in the car. We listened wherever we could." Lorde also counts herself among Nicks' fans. In 2015, she made her admiration clear with an effusive Instagram post, which read, "Ladies and gentlemen, I saw the best concert of my life last night, and it was Fleetwood Mac." Nicks hasn't just left her mark on the rock and alternative genres. She's also impacted the R&B world. In 2001, Destiny's Child sampled the opening riff to her 1981 hit, Edge of 17, in their song Bootylicious. Nicks herself appeared in the music video, strumming her guitar. In a Washington Post retrospective, Nicks said, "I got to sit there with them and hang out with them all day long. So when I left there, I felt like I knew them. We had a great day."
It's interesting what you can still do when you reach a certain age. It's all up to you.
Stevie Nicks has been rocking out since the 70s, and she's still going strong. At a talk at 2013 South by Southwest conference, she made it clear that she doesn't see herself slowing down anytime soon. Nicks said, "Opera singers sing into their 80s. I don't plan to be doing hundreds of shows when I'm 85, but I do plan to still be out there singing when I'm a seriously older woman." Nicks has also encouraged younger musicians to continue pursuing their passion for decades to come. At a 2015 Fleetwood Mac show, she dedicated the song Landslide to Adele, telling the crowd, "I told her, you're going to be me in 40 years. You're going to still be up on stage doing what you're doing because of your songwriting." She shared a similar message with the Haim sisters when chatting with them for their feature in T Magazine, saying, "They're going to want your music." And then, girls, at 66 years old, you can be starting a year-and-a-half tour that sold out its US dates in the first week. If you or anyone you know is struggling with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP 4357.